In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we share with you the number one reason why MSPs fail. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. And today we're going to share with you the number one reason, a bit of a smash in the guts, a slap round the face, the number one reason why MSPs fail. That's in our opinion. And sharing with me this whole new concept is Tracy Pound from Maximity. Good morning, Tracy. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Ian. I'm very well, thank you. And thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I'm very much looking forward to this chat.
No problem whatsoever. And thank you for your time in helping us set up and everything. And this episode came from my thinking, watching you deliver a talk for CompTIA earlier on in the year. And it was all around the S word, the dreaded S word, strategy. God, how boring is that? How unbelievably boring is the word strategy. But we're going to unpick that today because your talk was really inspiring and it really gave me some thought to get something out on the podcast. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, do you want to let everybody know who are you, what you do, and who do you help?
Okay, so I'm Tracy Pound. I'm the owner of a business called Maximity. We're based in Tamworth, Staffordshire. We've been going for 24 years this year, and we specialise in helping companies take the SH out of their IT. So we work with end users. It's a great tagline, isn't it?
I love that. I do love that.
Yes, and it really sums up what we do. So we do a lot of training on Microsoft products. We help put business systems in. So predominantly that's Microsoft's Business Central. We help with a bit of consulting. We do report writing. We do Power BI, dashboard design, a whole heap of stuff that's around using the data that's in your business to drive future growth and to see what's going on so that you understand all the moving parts within your business and people understand how to use their technology properly. Because so many people can't even use Excel.
I know, isn't it frightening? And I'm an Excel geek. And do you remember, you will remember this, do you remember Microsoft Access?
Yes, I do. Yes, I used Access.
How cool was that product?
I know. It was.
Like a geek, weren't you?
And I
you had to use it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I am very sad. I am of an age where I've actually used every single version of Excel that has ever been bought out. So yeah, I remember Access very well. Relational databases and people trying to get their heads around that. So yes, technology's moved on quite a lot.
Yes, it has. And isn't that interesting? Because what we're going to be talking today about is, what you've just blasted us with there. The MSPs listening to this will be going, oh, yes, love this. Oh, I love a bit of that. Oh, this automation. Oh, these wonderful things that you're doing, which is all great. For me, I do love systems and processes. I do love a little shiny ball. I do love a little bit of tech that I can have a play around with. But when it gets when the conversation goes on for more than about 7 seconds, I just kind of like zone out a little bit. And we're going to flick the other way around here because obviously at the Growth Hub and what you're doing and CompTIA and all of these other great communities that we're in, we're all here to help MSPs to build profitable businesses that work for them rather than them for us. It's a great model. It's an incredible model. It's, super appreciate being in this community. It's the highest growth tech space, for the next 10 years. So how exciting is all of that stuff? But it's bloody hard growing an MSP because most MSP business owners don't understand the fundamentals. And the fundamentals around growing an MSP or growing anything, flying a plane, going on holiday, baking a cake, is around having a plan, isn't it? And that plan needs a strategy. Oh, boring. Here we go. But it's not going to be boring because we're not going to talk about that. So what you must see, Tracy, and I know we're going to come on to this subject a little bit later on about solution selling and not selling the tech and selling the outcome, which you've built your business on incredibly well. Why is it that MSPs have such a struggle to get their head around the working on the structures of the plan, the sales, the marketing, the team building? In your view, what do you see? Why does this create this big brick wall?
I think it's a number of things. I think first and foremost, a lot of MSP practices were started by people who are technically very clever. So they've been in that tech track for a lot of their career. They've not worked in a finance department Often they've not worked in a big organisation, a corporate organisation, so they've not seen the structure of what it takes to run a big company. And their mindset is very much, I need to serve the needs of my customer, which is absolutely right. But alongside that, you have to have a mindset of, I need to serve my business. Because if I don't serve my business as well as I serve my customers, I'm not going to get a business that's going to grow. It's not going to have good, strong foundations that allow it to grow. So I think a lot of it is wound up in the fact that MSPs are predominantly run by people who are very technical. So they've not had that wider business experience. But also, I don't think it's just MSPs. I think small businesses in general struggle with strategy, because when they start and somebody says, right, you need to write a business plan and you need to put all this down in writing, they haven't got it fully formed. I mean, I know when I started my business, I had no idea where it was going to go, what it was going to look like. You just have this idea in your head that you want to serve this kind of customer and you want to deliver this kind of service. And this is roughly what it looks like. And off you go. And then suddenly you're running because you're successful and you're really good. And that strategy conversation is so far in the past that you don't even consider it. I don't think it's just confined to the IT industry. I think it's a problem of small business startups, because when you start a business, your primary aim is you've got to earn money. You've got to go out there and you've got to get some business in. So that's what you do. And you don't necessarily have a focus on everything that you want to set up as your foundational infrastructure. You have an idea of what you want to do, who you want to serve, and what that kind of looks like. And then you get successful. And by the time you've got successful, that idea of strategy is so far in the past that you don't even think about it. But it comes back and it bites you later on when you're trying to grow your business if you don't have that foundational infrastructure.
So that's a really, really great point. Just picking up on something that you've just said there. You know, you go to your NatWest accelerator or whatever it is, or your bank, and they say, do me a business plan. So you write down the sort of, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to achieve, blah, 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 and all sort of thing. What's the difference then between a business plan, in your view, and a strategy?
A strategy is something that lives. A business plan, when the bank asks you to do it, serves the purpose of getting them to set you a corporate bank account up, and it gets you off the ground financially. But a strategy is something that lives with you. It's something that every person in your organization understands, buys into, is part of your culture, and that's what drives success and growth going forward. So it never stands still. If a strategy stands still, it's not a strategy.
And your main objective as a business owner is to keep that strategy alive, isn't it?
Well, it is, because you want your business to grow. You know, everybody wants to be successful. And you can be successful to a certain point without having a strategy, but you will reach a ceiling. You know, I've seen it so many times across so many businesses in many, many industries, that they reach a ceiling, then they shrink down a little bit. They get back up to that ceiling and they shrink down again before the penny drops that in order to get through that barrier, they've got to think and be somebody different. And it's strategy that drives that being different, because it's always ahead of you. It's what you're looking towards. It's the future. So it drives who you become and how you act. And then that drives who you attract as your customers. So, you know, if you don't have a strategy, you don't have a plan. If you don't have a plan, at some point, most companies fail. And we know a lot of small businesses fail. So, you know, MSPs have got a huge opportunity out in the market to succeed. COVID, the pandemic, gave us a great leg up, because as an industry, we were really able to show businesses that were skeptical about tech that actually tech really works. And we could deliver, and we could let people work from home, and it took away so many barriers. And now businesses are starting to shrink back to how they looked before. So they're closing the door. So we've got an opportunity, whilst those doors are still open, to really push for growth and really push for the right tech in organizations. But to do it, you need to have a strategy, because if you don't, how are you ever going to get to your intended target market? How do your staff know what they're supposed to be doing for you that's in line with your vision for the business? And that's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. So let's unpick it. Where do people start? Some people might think they've got a strategy. Some people might think they've got a bit of a plan. Some people think, yeah, I know where this business is going. If we were to create a blueprint on this podcast right now, what would that blueprint to a strategy look like?
I think for me, it starts with culture. It starts with, what is your culture? What is your ethos? What do you believe in? What's important to you? And that isn't I'm the head of the organization and I'm going to do it on my own. That's I'm the head of the organization and I will lead it, but I'm taking all my staff, I'm taking my business on a journey with this. So what are their thoughts? What do they think we're really good at? What do they think we stand for? And building that into not a vision statement, because you've got vision statements, you've got mission statements. Everybody tells you you need to have these things. Unless they serve a purpose, why do you want to do it? But with culture, I think you want to have a culture that's written down so that when you recruit people, you're recruiting people that fit that match as personalities of what's important to them and ethics. And you want to embed that all through your organization so that everybody is thinking, acting, and being in the same way. And then that filters out to your clients, because then your clients say, these people really care. They're taking the time to learn about me. They pay attention to detail when we're trying to do these things. They get their invoicing right. So it filters out into the way that your customers respond to you and feel about you. And that starts with every single person in the organization. That is, culture is not something that's a management thing. That is something that has to be embedded throughout the whole organization. And I think once you've got culture, then you're starting to look at, right, what do we do and why do we do it? So the why, why did you set your business up? What was it intended to do? What's the story behind that? Because then you're bringing in something that's really personal to it. And in a world where everybody says, we deliver a great service and we do this for you, how's a customer supposed to distinguish between company A and company B that are both saying we're great at what we do? So you've got to have something that really sets it apart. And often that's something personal.
Excellent. I'm loving this. That culture, I think, is so important because isn't it funny, through all this technology and the things that are on or off and the systems that work or they don't work or anything like that, which we know it's the systems that create great businesses, but it's the behaviors that drive the innovation into the systems. I was listening to Stephen Bartlett the other day at an event and he said, I am a recruitment. My job is recruitment. And he said, and the guy was interviewing him, so I said, what are you on about? He goes, well, I've got a vision. What he wanted to achieve. He says, and now I need to go and find world-class people who can then help me achieve that vision. He says, and then what I need to do is inspire them so that they feel that they've got a sense of purpose to help me achieve the overall vision. And it was amazing because all of that was around exactly what you talked about, which was around behaviors. And, you can always teach technology or tech and skills, but you can't teach behaviors. And this is the bit where people go wrong with recruitment, isn't it? You might have someone in here who's brilliant. He's going to come here. He or she's going to bash the keyboard all day long and everything's going to be absolutely fantastic, but they might not talk to anyone. They might not care about the customer. And that's a real challenge, isn't it? The behaviors. How does an MSP or any business know whether they've got that culture that's working? What does success or measurement of a culture look like?
I think it's to do with, again, several things. I think it's the internal feeling within the organization. So, you can judge when you walk into an office, whether it's a friendly office or whether it's not. So you can get a feeling from how people act with each other. Often it's that they'll do things outside of work together. And that, that it forms almost like a community in its own right. And that's not to say every business has to have a community and people have to be part of that, because I think that puts a lot of pressure on certain people who've got responsibilities outside of work. But in general, you find that people want to be together. They'll go for a drink after work, or they'll go for lunch together, or, you'll suddenly find that some of them are going out for a night. And that might be in small groups. But when you start to see that happening on its own, without it being forced and without it being mandated, then I think that you've got a really good internal culture. And you'll get it back from your customers as well. So as an MSP, if you are good at account management, you should be out seeing your customers or talking to them on a regular basis, whatever that happens to be. It could be annually, it could be biannually, it could be monthly, but whatever that cadence is, you should be getting that feedback naturally from a lot of your clients. You won't get it from all of them because some people just don't like being nice. But, a lot of your clients, they will notice that they're getting extra special care from help desk people, from admin people, from receptionists, who they're speaking to. And that is the way, I think, of really being able to tell that you've got a good culture that's embedded. And changing culture is really hard. It's not an easy thing. You can't say, right, I want a culture that is friendly and honest and this and that and the other, and everybody go, okay, yes, we'll do it. Because why should they? Where's the personal buy-in in for them? So, you've got to really understand people. And when I did that talk for CompTIA in February or whenever it March, a lot of that was around really getting to know your customers. And I mean, really get to know your customers, because if you don't understand your customer's business, then how can you align the services and the products that you're trying to supply into that business? And I think the same goes for your staff. You really need to know your staff. They're there, you're paying them to do a job. But if you want them to go above and beyond, if you want that loyalty, then you need to know them and they need to know you. It has to be a real deep relationship. And you can't have that if you're in a big company with everybody in the organization, but you can structure a company that makes sure that as a top-down approach, everybody cares about other people in the business. They care about who's in their team. They care about the other teams in the organization. And that literally is from the most junior member of staff up to the most senior member of staff. And I spent 8 years working in automotive manufacturing. And one of the companies I worked at was a steel wheel manufacturer. So really heavy metal machine manufacturing. And when I started there, I was the IT manager. And the IT team that I took over, lived in this locked office that nobody was allowed into. And they were, you can't go in there. That's the IT department. They do all this black art stuff. The first thing I did was take the lock off the door, and they hated it because it's like, well, people will be able to come in. Yes, they will. Absolutely. They will. They'll get to see you. They'll get to meet you. You will have to go out and go and meet other people in the business because you're not giving a good level of customer service if you're not there with them. You have no empathy for them, no understanding for why they're upset if their printer doesn't work or their PC won't turn on in the morning. And it took a little while, but they loved it once they got used to the fact that they didn't need to sit in this little ivory tower. So that's where culture really can make a big difference, is in internal customer delivery as well as that external customer delivery.
I can just imagine their faces, in walks Tracy, rips the lock off the door. They will absolutely crap themselves thinking, what have you hired? This monster's just for.
I know. It was hilarious, actually, because, this was back in the 1990s. So a woman in tech was not that common. Never mind a woman in a manufacturing company in tech as well. So, I used to walk the shop floor. I used to go round the shop floor and talk to people who were using the machines. They were on the rims or the assembly line or the paint plant or, in where the press section was, because I'm interested. So another thing that I think makes a big difference is you need to be genuinely interested in people and business if you really want to succeed, because that gives you a different edge. And that gives you a different approach to conversations that you have with your staff and also with your customers, because they feel that. They can feel that you are genuinely wanting to help them and that you're interested in what they do. And, I just love business. So for me, it comes naturally. So I struggle when I see a lot of MSPs who don't want to go out and they don't want to see their customers and they don't have account management, because it's a missing gap. It's a huge opportunity to make a big difference to how much your customer spends with you, what they talk about you like, who they talk to other people about you, and that kind of whole referral of getting more business from the existing business that you've got makes a massive difference, having a more personal relationship.
Do you know what I love about what you've just been saying there, Tracy, and kind of going super deep into this is how do you measure it? And you're measuring it because people want to do things rather than having to do it. And it's the old adage of, management was very much, oh, they're going to manage the process. They've got to do this. You put your arm around them. You couldn't have come and do this. And then all of a sudden, in the 90s and the early noughties, there's this leadership word popped up. What the hell's that all about? I'm not telling anybody about my feelings. I'm not going to share with anybody they just do what I want them to do. And then all of a sudden, people start talking about self-awareness and the vision and the values and all of these types of things. And I think, the question is, for the listeners today is, when you look in your office, is it operating without you? Is it operating? Are people talking and solving problems without you? Are they coming up to you and saying, hey, I think we can be doing something a bit of a better way. I think we should be doing that a better way. What's the language? What's the body language? The big test I always used to have, and I work with all my teams, and I'm still doing it today, is when you walk in the door in the morning and you say to them, how are you doing today? And everyone goes, oh, I'm not bad. And I remember going into one of my senior manager mentor sessions years ago, and I went into this director's office and he said that to me, and I said to him, oh, not bad. And he says, I didn't ask you what you weren't. He said, I've asked you what you are. He says, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm good. He goes, should we try it again? I said, yeah, sure. How are you doing today? Yeah, I'm good. Now we're on a winning streak. And from that point, I had those conversations, and I'd walk in the office and say, morning, guys. And they go, morning, how you doing? Oh, yeah, well, good today. How different is that, just like from that language point of view? But another thing, just want to unpick as well, and you obviously do this kind of probably daily. We talk about niching and we talk about understanding our customers, but niching is very marketing driven around, that idea. But, account management, absolutely critical. If you are not doing account management in your MSP, then I want you to stop listening to this episode right now, put a little mark on it so you can come back and go and listen to some of the episodes that Stuart and I talked about, how to increase the revenue, how to increase relationships earlier on in the podcast, because we've done many about that. But this is about understanding the customers that you have. Many MSPs that we see, they're just farming, more. And the biggest thing that we have, where we have the biggest impact when someone comes and joins the Growth Hub, is in account management, is low-hanging fruit. Well, I haven't spoken to them for a couple of years. Oh, no, they're all right. I don't hear from them. They're fine. They're not all right if you haven't heard from them. How do you know they're not? How do you know they're? Well, because they haven't run me with a problem. No, but what's going on in their business? They might be growing. They might be going on need some more technology from you. And this is where this relationship and understanding your customers, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you understand your customers? Do you know their wives' names or their husbands' names and things like that? Not necessarily you need to, but I'm just trying to get a gauge on how deep that relationship is. If you're not going and visiting them every quarter as an absolute minimum, then you should be having some of those conversations and asking those business questions. So absolutely fantastic. So we've only got on to 2 points so far, and we're nearly out of time, but let's just keep going and see what happens. So we've got culture and then the why. What's the other key elements of having a strategy and keeping it and bringing it alive?
So I think if you want a decent strategy, you have to really understand what it is that you're trying to deliver, which comes back from your culture. So, why did you start the business? What's your mission as a business to succeed with? And how are you doing that? So your strategy should always be in alignment with your purpose as an organization. And how can you grow? Because growth isn't necessarily just about bringing money in. It's about how many more people can you help? So it's about how can you expand your business to help more organizations to deliver what it is that you deliver, because you really believe that that's better than the other company down the road or in the next city. So what is it that ultimately you're trying to achieve? And it won't be necessarily monetary. It'll be other things like, I want to be able to make sure that all the companies in our local area have the right products and services, they've got the right cyber protection, they've got the right systems to run their business, and they're not being interrupted from running business because of technical issues. So whatever it happens to be, it's delivering that mission in the way that you want to be able to do it. And strategies often are best drawn up in a room with all your staff. Now, you may sit there and go, what? Well, we've got 20 staff. We can't take them off the help desk and do this. Yes, you can. Any business can take a couple of hours out twice a year to sit in a room Go to a local hotel, go somewhere else, get somebody in to answer the phones for you for that time, and just look at with everybody, what are we succeeding with? What are we doing well? What do we need to improve? How are we going to improve it? And who's going to own that? And from that we're doing these things well, how can we do more of that well? What can we do to build this into a bigger business? What would you, as my staff, like to see happen in this organization going forward? Because there comes a point where, as a business owner, you will be the bottleneck in that organization because everything comes through you. And that's great because that serves your ego and that shows that you've been successful. And to a point, that's good. But past that point, you want to get out of your own way. You want to let, as you said earlier, you want to let your business succeed. Can it run without you? And one of the best ways to see that is having those kind of twice a year strategy sessions where you've got your whole staff in there and you take time to listen to what the most junior person says to what the most senior person says. And you take that on board and that informs how you act across the next year, 2 years. So I think, again, it's very much down to people. And technology fits in there, but technology serves people. Always, forever. Doesn't matter what we're doing. Technology serves people. And it serves it in an MSP business as much as the technology that an MSP has that provides out to a customer. So it's about, what are you doing internally? How are you doing it? What's going to help you to grow better and quicker? And what's going to help you be more responsive? And where do you still need a human touch? Where do you still need people? And why do you need those people? And what purpose do they serve? And how are they adding value? So it's bringing every element of your business together to talk about it under one umbrella without the distraction of other bits of business going on and somebody going, hang on a minute, I've got a customer call, I've got to answer this on the help desk, this server's gone down. You want them all out the way, somewhere where you can just relax and talk to them about what's going right in this business, what's going wrong, what do we need to do to improve, how can we grow? And you as the business owner might have some targets that you want them to meet, so introduce that, but please don't do what I heard somebody do in an MS practice years ago, which was say to his staff, right, I want a new car, so you need to work harder. So, you might have your own personal goals, you might want that really nice car, but don't put it in those terms because that is such a disincentive for people to want to work. It's untrue.
The best one that I heard years ago, someone came up with a lot of change in the cable industry years ago when I used to work in there. And this one guy came up and he just stood there. He goes, "You are here to pay for my mortgage." And it was like, and everybody just literally almost like got up and walked out. Anyway, that was in the past. Tracy, that last 3 or 4 minutes has been one of those mic drop moments of wow. So if you are not meeting your teams on at least, annually, biannual, asking those great questions, being open, but you can only do that when you've got the culture and you've got the right people and you've got the behaviors, and that's the bit to connect it together. So we'll wrap this all up in a couple of minutes, but that last piece that Tracy just talked about, that agenda, she's given you the agenda, she's given you the reason, the purpose, and you go and do that in your business, it will blow the bloody doors off. It'll blow your doors off to start with, and then it'll blow the doors off, because that's one of those engaging times when you're asking people their opinion. And then, as my mum, bless her, sort of said, Ian, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. Your job in that session is to listen. It's to listen and ask great questions and extract, what do you mean by that? And what does that mean? And what does that mean? And what does that mean we can do, and then you'll get those people who'll be able to come around and really help you drive that business forwards.
Yeah. And interestingly, many years ago, somebody said to me, there's 2 types of listening. There's active listening and passive listening. And with active listening, you're not listening to respond, you're listening to understand. And that's the difference between passive and active listening. So as a business owner, you need to listen to understand, not to just respond.
Another little great thing on there, and I love that one. Julia, one of our leadership coaches, we were doing a session with our guys the other day, the clients the other day, and she said in it, she goes, in sales, you need to be interested, not interesting.
Yes.
And it was interested in what everybody's doing rather than, oh, this is me, this is what we're doing. No, you need to be interested in what they're saying. And that was a great point. Tracy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Absolutely love. This could have gone on for hours and hours and hours, as we both know. Loads and loads of golden nuggets in there, loads and loads of golden tips and tricks. Wrapping this up as a summary, what do people need to do as soon as they get off this podcast?
Check their internal culture. If it's not right, do something about it. Have your purpose, your reason written down, shared with all your staff so that they buy into it. Understand your customers really, really well. So what you're applying to understanding your business, also apply that outwards to your customer. And above everything else, if you can do it twice a year, then do it. If you can only do it once a year, please go off site for at least a couple of hours with your entire team and have that business strategy session. Make them part of the solution in the future.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. And as we know, you are very much involved, embedded, probably the chief executive, whatever your job title is this week, is of the amazing CompTIA community, which is this worldwide community of tech leaders. Tell everybody a little bit about, just for a couple of seconds, on why do they need to get involved and why they need to go and check out CompTIA and learn about what this is all about and how it can help you.
Okay, so CompTIA is the Computing Technology Industry Association. As you say, it's a global community that is there to serve anybody who's in the tech industry. So it's a great community for people to come together. Fantastic networking opportunity, peer-to-peer learning. There's a lot of research that CompTIA does because it's a big organisation that is vendor neutral research, absolutely fantastic. You can use that in your business. So if you want to take stats from the cyber studies and give those out to prospects, you can do that. And you can reference CompTIA materials. It's got a whole ton of education programs for vendors, for distributors, for managed service providers. And there are just some genuinely brilliant people in the community. So if you come across it, please go to a community event. It's really hard to describe until you actually get there and you experience it. And that was my experience when I came into CompTIA, because I had not heard of them, didn't know who they were, ignored everything that came my way until somebody said, well, if you want to understand it, go to a community meeting. Sold within 5 minutes. The atmosphere, the friendliness, the support, the ethos, the culture, it is exactly what we need as an industry to take us forward.
Exactly. And I think, I'm not quite sure when this podcast will be going out, but the one to keep an eye out for will be the EMEACon in London. It's absolutely incredible event. Go and check the website out, go and see what it's all about. And we look forward to seeing you there. Tracy, if anybody wants to continue the conversation, and maybe if anybody wants to hire you out to come and take the lock off the IT department's door, if they haven't got the gumption to do that themselves, how do they get in contact with you?
So the easiest thing is on LinkedIn. You'll find me, Tracy Pound. I'm a verified person on LinkedIn. So just look out for Tracy Pound.
Oh, did you do that? I never did that. I thought, why do you need my passport?
Yeah, I know. I was a little bit, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? But I've had a lot more contact since I've done that. I only did it last week. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the easiest and quickest way to find me. Or look at the website. It's just maximity.co.uk.
Fantastic. Tracy, thanks ever so much. Good luck with your endeavours with Maximity and with CompTIA, and also the amazing work, which we're going to talk about probably in another podcast, with women in tech as well, which you're a great advocate for, and is incredible work that you're doing there. So all the best of luck. Thanks again. We're going to catch up with you on the next show. See you all soon.
Bye.
Wait. Just before you go, and if you're curious about how this episode links with the ability to scale your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, accelerate to 5, then we want to invite you to come and take the MSP Mastery Quiz. And in just 3 minutes, you're going to get a 360-degree scan of your business where you can identify the 1 or 2 tactics that can help you find more time, engage and align your people, and help generate more leads in your MSP. It's really simple. Just click on the link in the show notes. And if you have enjoyed this episode, we'd love to get some feedback from you by means of a rating, review on Spotify or iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. We really appreciate every single one of them. Now you can go and enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to catching up and connecting with you soon. All the best now.